Oh, 100%. 100. The first thing you got to do is you have to grow rhinoceros thick skin. Like you're going to hear no a lot. You're going to hear that no, it's not working. It's this. It's that. You're going to get a pass all the time. You're going to get a yes, and then it turns into a no. Like so, you have to just grow a super thick skin and be able to take those punches, and then just whatever, keep going.
Welcome to the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise Artist podcast, where artists of all kinds come to fuel their passion, sharpen their skills, and thrive in their creative lives. I'm your host, Lara Bianca-Pilcher, life and creativity coach and fellow artist, here to support you on your artistic journey. Whether you're a performer, writer, visual artist, or any kind of artist, this is the space for real talk, practical advice, and inspiring stories. Subscribe and join us each week for more inspiration and actionable insights to fuel your artistry. Let's dive in and get inspired. Welcome back to the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise Artist podcast. I'm Lara, your life and creativity coach, back from a lovely break over the December-January period. Joining me is someone who knows how to navigate this ever-changing creative world. Adam Tex Davis. As an Emmy-nominated writer, director, and producer, Adam has worked on everything from the cult classic Just Friends to National Geographic's Brain Games. You can find that. My kids watch it actually on Disney+. He's a storyteller who built a sustainable career in one of the most competitive industries, and his insights are exactly what artists need right now. We're talking about resilience, creative longevity, and how to find opportunities even when the world feels heavy. So grab your coffee, get comfy, or your monk fruit hot cacao if you're like me, and let's dive in. First of all, Adam, thank you for being on Healthy, Wealthy, Wise Artist podcast. It's great to meet you in person.
Nice to meet you too, Lara. This is great. Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure. Well, artists are storytellers, and you know that better than anybody. And I'd love to kick things off by asking you the story behind the journey. What sparked your passion for storytelling as a young lad?
I was always the one, like if a bunch of us went out and did something and then somebody was like, what'd you guys do last night? I was always the one that would tell the story. And everybody would always look to me to be the one because they knew it was going to be the best version, the most concise, but also the most with the details that are funny and the twists and the turns. And I just always knew how to tell a story, which was always kind of nice. And then, the other thing was, I loved movies. I loved reading. I just really loved storytelling. And even early on, I didn't know if I wanted to be a novelist. I didn't know if I wanted to be a journalist. Every kind of facet of writing and telling a story was within my, grasp in a way. Like, oh, could I write articles? Could I write, so it was always figuring out what I like to do. And my sort of origin story was I did get into journalism. I was an editor on my school paper, and I had this nasty habit that if the story wasn't quite good enough, I would embellish it a little bit.
Love
I would
that.
quote myself as an unnamed source. I would have some fun with it. And I'm just thinking, it's a high school newspaper. Who cares if I embellish the story about the JV girls basketball team? But then I wrote an article, and I get called into the journalism office, and the teacher's like, you're not going to believe this, but you just won second place in the nation. You have to go to Columbia University and receive this silver medal. And I'm like, oh, and I'm thinking to myself, there's enough stuff in this story that's not quite right or true, or the basis of the story was true, but then I just embellished it. And I was like, okay, I have enough journalistic integrity to know that I don't have journalistic integrity. So I was like, let me just, let me not be a journalist, but let me use this as the framework for my storytelling, especially with films. It's sort of what I call bad journalism, where you take a kernel of truth and then you make it better and you make it funnier.
I think that we've all experienced that. I've definitely been on the side of experiencing that.
Yeah. So
yeah,
all like most of the movies and the stuff that has done well for me has been, been like that, journalistic, kernel of truth, and then pile all the fun on top of it.
Oh, it sounds very exciting. It must make your kids love bedtime stories. I don't know how old they are now, but
Yes, I used to tell my daughter great stories.
I'm sure.
I still do. I still do.
I'm
Except they're more
going
like
to dive into, yeah, I want to dive. I'm a mum, so that's why I asked, but I want to dive into sort of how you've navigated all the ups and downs of the entertainment industry. Would you say for you, you're the exception to the rule and it's been easy, or would you say, no, it's been an up and down, very normal creative journey?
Oh, it's completely up and down. I've had to reinvent myself many times. I've had high highs. I've had very low lows. I've had weird mixes of both. Like the same project. I sold a script to Leonardo DiCaprio's company, and he produced this movie, and it was like one of the
Mm,
biggest highs. And it got made, and we had great actors and all that stuff. And then they didn't sell it. They turned down offers to buy it, and I think there was some, I don't know what kind of behind the scenes accounting a producer needed to have, show a loss or something, and now it's sitting on a shelf, and barely anybody can see it. And
mm.
so it's like a high and then a low of like,
Oh,
okay, great, I have
absolutely.
this fun project that's sitting on a shelf that nobody can.
Yeah.
So
It's funny, that you say that because I've noticed post or during strike and post strike that all these films that didn't really see the light of day at the level that anyone expected are starting to show up in the top 10 that are 10 years old. And have
right.
you noticed that as well? And it's been like these films that are having these comebacks, or they're, series that were done 10 years ago that are now in the top 10 right now. I'm thinking of things like Younger, for example.
They could totally re-release that movie. It's called Gardener of
Mm.
Eden. I know it was
Mm.
on Amazon Prime for a minute.
Yeah.
Like my friends were like, "Hey, your movie's on Prime," and I was like, "Oh, great, go see it now because see it while you
Yeah.
can because I don't
Yeah,
know how long
exactly.
it's going to last." And
Yeah.
then I know there's like pirate sites that will have it or whatever. But the point is, like, they could totally release it now and it would work.
Mm.
And it's got big names in it, like Jim
Yeah.
Parsons before Big Bang Theory is just
Yeah.
a supporting actor in it, and
Very cool.
Giovanni Ribisi's in it, and Erica Christensen, and Lucas Haas. I mean, it's
Yeah.
fun, but it is that's the business, and you just get back
Mm.
on the horse and you write something else.
I love that. I love that you say that. It's like, it's like listen, Ted Lasso, like, be a goldfish. Just forget the bad thing. Keep going.
Yeah,
Like,
I I say
yeah.
field goal kicker. Is the
Mm,
phrase I use all the time. You're like, you missed the field goal. Well, they're going to need you later in the game, so you better get your head on straight. You have 2 seconds to lament, and then get back in the game.
I love that. Would you say that's one of the main characteristics of how to be a long-term artist sustainably?
Oh, 100%. 100. The first thing you got to do is you have to grow rhinoceros thick skin
Mm,
that will not be, like you're going to hear no a lot. You're going to
yeah.
hear that, no, it's not working. It's this, it's that. You're going to get a pass all the time. You're going to get a yes, and then it turns into a no. Like you have no idea how many times like things have stalled. So you have to just
Mm,
grow a super thick skin and be able to take those punches and then just, whatever, keep going. Um,
yeah.
and then be ready for all kinds of heartbreak. If you wrap everything up into one project,
Mm.
you got to always be moving. You have to constantly create and stuff.
How do you personally keep having hope through those journeys where you just feel like, have I even got what it takes? Like, oh, that's hit so hard. I love to get into the real story because I know that for most artists, even the most successful, that have had incredible credits like yourself, there's always a backstory.
Right.
And so, like, the question is really like, how do you keep believing in your talent?
For me, I was fortunate. Like there was always, even if I took a step back, there was always a step forward that let me
Mm,
think that this is the right path for me. Like I
that's
won
good.
writing contests when I was very young, and that put the
Mm,
idea into my head that, oh, I can actually do this. I can actually write.
mm,
I got into film school, like the top film school, NYU,
mm.
based on writing. So I'm like, okay, I can't stink too bad if they accepted
Yeah.
me. But actually, I had a fun thing happen in college. I did a movie. Actually, it was like a video, like for a video class. And a guy who was a talented filmmaker in my class came up to me. He goes, "Hey, here's the weird thing." He goes, "Your movies are not as funny as you are.
Wow.
Like you're funnier in person than your movie is." And I was like, "Huh." That's an interesting. Like at first, you taken aback by it, and it's just like, huh, well, jerk. But then
Ouch.
you're like, you know what? There's something. There's probably something there. And I realized I was trying too hard to be funny, and I wasn't
Mm,
allowing the thing that makes me get laughs in real life. That wasn't showing up on the film. I was trying to be funny, as like
mm,
force it. And I was like, let me, change it a little bit. And then I started writing more dialogue heavy things and less like sight gags and stuff like that. And
yeah.
then it started to do better for me. And I was like, I always wanted to thank that kid if I saw him again. He's not a kid anymore, but
Yeah.
but yeah, you're always learning. You're always taking a step forward. Look, here's the thing. I did a student film at school,
Mm,
and again, it's like the story of my life. I entered like 40 film festivals with my student film. I didn't get into 30 of them,
wow.
but I won like the other 10.
Mm,
So it's like people loved it, or they didn't. So
mm,
my student film like either won the festival or didn't get in, and it was like a
mm,
3-to-1 ratio. But it's still okay. So that's a sign. Then I started writing scripts, screenplays,
mm,
while I was just trying to figure out my life. I was working in a bagel store. I was working in a factory that made car washes,
mm,
and I get a call from a manager, and he says, "Hey, I love your student film. I can't do anything with that, but what else do you have?" And I said, "Look, I've written 4 scripts." He's like, "Oh, wow,
wow.
okay. Send me your best 2." So I sent the 2 that I thought were the best, and from that, he was like, "Yeah, I'm going to sign you. I think you have a great
Mm,
voice, and I see something. Let's try to get you an
yeah.
agent, and let's try to get you meetings, and let's use these as calling cards. I don't even know if these can sell, but it'll be a great calling card, and we'll start the process for you." And I was like,
Mm,
super thrilled. And then I was able to get an agent out of it, and blah blah blah. But the bigger point is, if he would have called and said, "What do you have?" And I was like, "Well, I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about
mm,
that, or germ of an idea here, or whatever." Like
yeah.
the conversation ends. Like,
Wow.
thankfully, I did write those scripts because that's
You
what I
had them
felt like I
ready.
had to do. I would work in the day, and then
Mm,
I'd come home and I'd work on these things, these ideas I had, and they weren't even good. Like we had to work on
mm,
it. My manager and I, this guy Chris Bender, we worked on
yeah.
these things together. But
Mm.
he saw something there. And again, you got to put in the work. If you're going to be a writer, you got to write.
Yeah, I love what you're saying because you're saying well, you believed in yourself and then you have evidence, that you do have what it takes. And so you hold on to the evidence through the hard times. And then you're writing whether you have an opportunity or not. So there's so many lessons in that so that you're ready. I call it the dark work.
Yeah,
So that you're ready,
right.
you've got what it takes for when the opportunity does come. And those things, I mean, they're just telling me, so many characteristics of what it takes to actually keep going over many times. And I just want to say, because we are in interesting times, we've been through strikes, we've been through, well, Hollywood's going through a horrible time with,
Yeah.
at Los Angeles with fires. And resilience is key. And then we've got the rise of AI in there. So you shared setbacks and, you've had projects that are delayed and probably had to do a million rewrites and change directions and pivot. How have you stayed motivated, through that when you just feel, I don't want to write, I don't feel like being creative?
It's tricky. It's tricky. I'll tell you what, I'm at a
Mm,
point. So here's the thing. I write every single day.
mm,
Whether it's a round robin of things because I have podcasts now that I
mm.
have kids educational podcasts that I do rewrites of every script on. I've got 2 of those. I'm doing an Oscar show,
Well,
so I have to write, stuff for that. And, and then I have my screenplay stuff, and then, some TV ideas. And like, so I'm constantly writing.
mm,
And, if you lose motivation in one thing, you pick up the other thing is how,
yeah.
is how I do it. I will say this, I have discovered I've had a breakthrough, and it's funny because the younger kids, like my daughter's 20, like she's
Mm,
had this breakthrough like 2 years ago with AI. But
mm,
I've found a way that like, everybody's scared of AI, but as a
mm.
writer, I'm like, okay, I figured out like you don't use the AI to do the work for you. You do it,
Exactly. Yeah.
it does the work with you. And
Mm,
it's like I will outline a script, a very
mm.
complete outline with dialogue, with
Yeah.
characters, with everything
Yeah.
figured out. And then I will feed it into the AI and I will say,
Mm,
hey, put this in script format. And then I will take what
nice.
it spits out and I will rewrite that scene. and then I'll put it back in, and then spits out something else. And then I take, whether I take their advice or not, but I'm doing the writing and I'm doing the rewriting. Like these days, I find myself, it's a lot easier to do rewrite, which is also why I like finding young, hungry writers who were like me back, 20, 25 years ago. And I say, I have an idea. Let's work on an outline together. Then you'll do the first draft and then I will do a rewrite of it.
Nice.
So, it's been easier to rewrite stuff than to start with the blank page. And so AI is actually a useful tool to help start with something. Even if I throw everything out and do a complete page one rewrite of everything, but I go scene by scene and I put it together. And I just did a movie and I just have a first draft of a new screenplay that I had come up with. And it took me 4 days to get a script out of the AI, but it took me a month to write the outline for it.
Yeah, that's so good. And I totally agree. I think AI is so helpful as a collaborative partner if you've done enough work. But it's really great for artists too, messy minds that we have and helping us kind of order our thoughts. But you've got to have your thoughts down.
Right. Don't depend on the AI to write something great.
No, it won't sound great. It uses a lot of faff. I call it faff words and fluff and things that you just don't really want in there. Yes. That's really fantastic. So you've collaborated with producers and actors and executives across genres. How do you maintain your creative vision when you're working with all those voices collaboratively? Or do you just kind of feel that you've got that flexible personality creatively?
Being flexible definitely helps. Going into it knowing it's collaborative also helps. The one thing I've always done is, the movies of mine and even it's funny because TV is different. The writer, producer is the king or queen in TV. The director works for you. So when I did my TV stuff, I could be like, no, that's wrong, blah, blah, blah. When you're working in film, the director is obviously in charge. So the thing I always did was, I'm going to make myself the director's ally. I know that all the forces are going to be against the director. The actors will have issues. The producers will have issues. The studio will have issues. Who's the director going to turn to? Who's their ally? I'm like, why not the writer? Usually the writer is seen as the bad guy. The writer comes on set. Yeah, get the guy.
Oh dear, they're going to hold us back. Yeah.
Get them out of here. Put them in the movie, let them do a cameo, and then send them home. And then but I was like, no, I'm going to be the director's ally, and I'm going to be there as a sounding board. I'm going to be there if something's not working. I'm already proactively rewriting a scene or rewriting. This isn't really working. Here, check this out. Oh, this is great. Good. So I endeared myself to all the directors that I worked with, and they liked having me on set, which was always nice. Now, granted, I knew I was giving up control. They are, but I could whisper in their ear, hey, have you thought of this? Or maybe get a take that's more like this or whatever in some cases. And in other cases, they turn to me and they go, what do you think? And,
that's nice.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, my movie, Just Friends, the director was constantly like, look, you're the only one whose comedy opinion I fully trust. You tell me if you think this is funny, and, most of the time it was. And sometimes I was like, I don't know. And then he'd be like, you don't know what you're talking about. And he'd walk away.
There are some personalities, aren't there?
Yeah. Look,
all kinds.
Yeah. Film directors, I will say this, narcissism is it's almost a needed trait. And, almost the same with writing. You have to have an unshakable confidence and an unshakable ability to think that you are right, or to know you are right, because all the forces are going to be against you. And if you cave at all or wilt at all, they will take over. And then
that's so good.
Yeah. So it's
have an opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
Stand for something, believe in something, have a point of view, right?
Right.
That is so interesting. I've never heard anyone say that. But it's very interesting, and it's true, because it's kind of, if you're too flexible and you're not having a point of view and you're scared of what people think, then you're not going to be a punchy artist in a world that's so saturated.
Absolutely. I mean, look, you stand up for what you believe in. Pick your battles. You don't fight on everything. And then be open to the fact that, if you're working with good people, when you've got Ryan Reynolds in your movie, guess what? He's going to elevate your material. A line that was not funny on the page is suddenly hilarious.
He's made it greater.
You
Yeah.
know? And
And that's the collaborative art, isn't
yeah.
it? That's so fantastic. I really love that you said that. Okay, this is a few more questions. There's so much uncertainty because there's been so much change, and you've already lent into how you're using AI in your advantage, which is great. But where do you think the biggest opportunities lie for artists today with all of the shifts and the changes? And would you say it's creating your own work as you've done, like, or do you think there's other places for, opportunity that artists really need to be paying attention to?
I do think we're in the era that you have to do as much of it yourself as possible.
Mm,
Look, we got into
yeah,
podcasting, my partner and I, because of the pandemic, because
nice.
we can't go out and pitch, we can't shoot anything, we can't leave our
Yeah.
homes. What do? Well, we had
Mm,
done a kids' educational show on Netflix. And
mm,
before that, we had done a show called Brain Games for National Geographic, and we had gotten an Emmy nomination. And so we were known for the smart space. We did a show called
yeah.
Brainchild for Netflix one season.
Which we and my kids have watched.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
The funny story about Brainchild is, and this is what
Mm.
I say to people, it was so successful that they canceled it.
It's so funny how they do that.
But it's like, wait, that doesn't make any sense, except, yeah, they don't have to make more because every
Mm,
year a new crop of 8-year-olds discover our show. So even though
mm,
that show aired 5, 6 years ago, it's still in the
yeah.
top like 15% of all their programming. So they don't
Mm.
have to make more and put more money. They just keep,
Because kids keep
yeah,
growing up,
the kids keep
yeah, and
finding
coming
the show.
through.
So
That's genius.
we didn't get to make, yeah, well, good for them. Not great for us.
But you didn't get to make another
No,
season, yeah.
we were hoping to do like 3, 4 seasons of that. But the point is,
Yeah.
we got microphones and we did a show called Who Smarted, which is a kids' educational show. And to our surprise, well, not full surprise. I mean, look, you've got a guy who writes movies, and me and
Mm,
my partner, we make TV shows. Like doing a podcast is a lot simpler. I just had to
yeah.
recalibrate my thinking because in movies and TV, it's show, don't tell. But a podcast is
Yeah.
just tell. You don't have the
It
show.
is very different, isn't it?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I had to recalibrate my thinking, but I brought my jokes and my humor and stuff, and the
Mm,
kids loved it. And now the show is one of the biggest kids podcasts in the world. But the point
mm,
is, what's great is we own it; it's ours.
mm.
I don't have a
That's so good.
studio. I don't have a network. I don't have a producer or an executive telling me what I can
Wow.
and can't do. We own
Yeah.
it. We do it. I give the notes. I do the rewrites. What I write goes to the actors. They perform it. So it's like ownership. So that's great. Like
Mm,
the podcasting space, and most of our podcasts are more entertainment and scripted than
yeah.
say talking. I mean, although my Oscar show is talking, is conversational, but the point is, same thing with movies, same thing with video.
Mm,
Like, it's cheaper, it's easier than ever. If you have a project, look, I've got a couple of low budget horror movies. I'm trying to find the time to try to
mm,
raise some money and do it myself because I can't rely on the studio. Like, there's so
yeah.
much uncertainty out there. Whatever you
Yeah.
can do yourself, do it.
I love that. That's so important. And the name of the podcast so that I can send my children that way.
The kids podcast, well, there's two of them. One is called Who Smarted.
Okay.
And if they like brain games, they will love Who Smarted.
Yeah.
And then the other one that we do is called Mysteries About True Histories. And
Very fun.
and if you take the first letter of each of those words, it spells math. So every episode has hidden
Oh.
math and some history and geography
Oh, I
and
have
stuff.
to get that. It's good holiday fun since school's cancelled in Georgia. Well, today in
Oh yeah, you
my
guys are
area
having a
because of the cold weather.
yeah, and yeah. So enjoy.
That's really, really good. So, where can listeners find you online and your projects other than the children one that you might want to direct them to?
Sure. So podcast wise, I've got two podcasts for adults as well. One is called The Oscars. What were they thinking? Because as a
Ooh.
big movie lover, I love to
Yeah.
look back at the old Oscars and
Yeah.
see what they got right, what they got wrong, the
Very
flubs, the
cool.
snubs, the oversights. But
Yeah.
me alone wouldn't be enough of a draw. So I brought in Bruce Valanche, who's like a comedy and writing legend. He wrote for the Oscars for 25 years, more than
Oh
any other
my.
human.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
wrote he wrote monologue jokes and stuff. Billy Crystal, Steve Martin, Robin
Mm,
Williams, Whoopi Goldberg, all the luminaries. He was there for all this stuff. So he's got great behind the scenes stories and all this stuff. But he also brings to the table, what were they thinking? Like, why did this movie get nominated or win over this other one? And he has all these theories and stuff. Whereas I'm just like, what were they thinking? Why, how,
Yeah.
so we debate, we argue, but it's called the Oscars. What were they thinking? And then I've got a true crime show that I do with my wife and my business partner, and it's murders and mysterious deaths that happen on vacation. And it's called Slaycation.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So it was
I love your mind.
Goofy idea I had. It was a goofy idea I had, and the fun part is my wife and Jerry Colbert, my business partner, they research the case and then they tell it to me, so I don't know anything about it, so I can ask questions and make jokes and comments, and so we try to keep it a little bit. We try to add some humor to the horror.
Yeah,
but these cases are crazy. What people think they can get away with, they go on vacation, they murder their spouse, they try to make it look like an accident. Oh, they fell off a cliff. Oh, they fell off the boat. And and we walk through those stories, and those are pretty fun.
Yes.
So if you're a true crime fan,
that's a big audience there. I'm kind of a closet true fan of true crime.
I like it because it's good stories. They're crazy stories. Some are twisting and turning.
It keeps you. It's so true.
And how they catch these people and what people were thinking they could get away with. Yeah.
Yes. So. Yeah. And then you have a website, Atomic Entertainment, right?
Yes. AtomicEntertainment.com. Atomic Entertainment is our sort of, our company. We just did a spinoff though. We just launched Atomic Audio, because now at this point we have 4 or 5 podcasts. So we're like, you know what? We're going to become our own podcast network.
Oh, wow.
So we want to do more. So we're raising money to do more podcasts and to supercharge the ones we have. We figured out, again, it's like, why rely on someone else when we can do it ourselves? Podcasts are pretty easy to make and cheap enough, and we have ideas. So let's grow a podcast sort of empire. So that's what we're in the middle of.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. You just, the epitome of, to me, like that artist mind and knowing how to wield that weapon in the right direction, no matter what happens. So thank you for your authenticity and giving us some insight into your mind and your process and all the projects you've got going on. And I love that, because there's always going to be something you're working on without sitting there and twiddling your thumbs.
My pleasure.
I don't see that for you. I don't think you could ever sit twiddle your thumbs.
No, it's not in my makeup, but I will say this. My agent used to joke. He used to say, "You're one of the few writers I have that likes to write."
Interesting.
And I was like, what does that even mean? But then, all right, as you get older, you're like, wow, sometimes it is a little bit more of a chore, but you find a way to do it.
I love that. Thank you so much for the chat. It was fantastic. Such an enlightening conversation, and Adam's journey really reminds all of us that creativity thrives even in the changing times, over history, the toughest of circumstances. So if you're feeling inspired, here's what to do next. Subscribe to this podcast on the platform you're on for more conversations like this. Share this episode with a fellow artist who needs to hear these insights, and leave a review. It helps us to reach more creatives like you to have that engagement. And if you're ready to take your creative journey further, let's connect. I offered coaching tailored for artists who want to align their artistry with their goals and stay inspired. I'm a professional certified coach, level 2 with the Life Coaching Federation, which is the accreditation board, and I offer tailored services for you. You can check out the show notes at laurabiancapilcher.com/blog, and you'll find this episode all below in the show notes where you're listening. Thank you for tuning in to Healthy, Wealthy, Wise Artist Podcast. If you want a freebie to help you out of a creative rut, head to my website again, laurabiancapilcher.com. Download the Creative Rut resource. Until next time, keep showing up. I'm with you on the journey, friends, and right now your creativity is needed more than ever.